All right, guys, so for more context on all of this, as well as what these strikes from Iran will mean moving forward, let's bring in Jamil Jaffer, founder and executive director of the National Security Institute. Hey, Jamil.
Hey, how are you, Nick?
Doing well.
Welcome back to the show. ISIS, of course, and its power in the region has been greatly diminished since 2015. So why is it necessary for us to maintain our presence in that area?
Well, obviously there are potential terrorist attacks still emanating from that region of the world. While we've done a good job of really going after ISIS, they still are present there, even though they've gone into hiding at some level. We have about 900 troops, as you point out, Marcel, they're in the region today, and they're there to protect U.S. national interests.
Jamil, how does that work? I mean, how are we able to maintain bases in Syria despite, obviously, the Bashar Assad regime still in power? Not the best of friends, us and that regime.
We're generally operating out of areas controlled by the Syrian rebel forces. They have a smaller aspect of control than they've had in the past, but they do still control some territory, and so that's the area that we're operating out of. We're operating alongside those forces, as well as the Kurdish forces that were supporting our effort in the fight against ISIS and ISIL.
Now, we often hear about Iran's use of proxies to do their dirty work. Were these attacks done by the proxy? Do we know any answers at this time?
Yeah, Marcel, it's a great question. We don't have the exact names of the groups that Iran is using in this fight, but we know from the Department of Defense that these groups were Iranian-affiliated groups. In particular, what we've seen in Iraq in the past was groups like Ansar al-Haq and Kataib Hezbollah. Those were a couple of the groups that killed a lot of Americans using Iranian-made explosive form penetrators in Iraq. So it's likely it's groups similar to those now operating in the Syria region.
Jamil, I want to ask you specifically about Iranian drones. They are being used also, as we know, by Russia in Ukraine, another country where we are clashing, you could say, with Iran indirectly in that form. But how big of a problem are Iranian drones, the use of those drones in the bigger picture? And how can we make sure that they don't use our technology inside of those drones? Analysis has showed that Iranian drones are actually packed with technology that's made here in the United States.
No, Nick, that's exactly right. Obviously, the technology question is a hard one. We have significant sanctions on Iran, and so what you have to have here is people violating or transshipping around our sanctions regime and getting around it. So we've got to enforce that better. But on your larger question about the Iranian drone fleet, one of the generals from the region, from our forces who testified recently before Congress, said that the Iranian drone force is the most capable in the region. And this is a region including U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia and Israel. So that says a lot about what the Iranians have done just in the last 3-4 years with their drone capabilities. And in particular, what we know is being used by the Russian forces in Ukraine and was used against these American bases over the last couple of days are these Iranian-made suicide drones or one-way drones that sort of head into the conflict and they sort of dive bomb and then explode, conducting a very difficult to defend against attack.
Yeah, and no signs that that's going to be ramped down. I was just reading about how Iranians were thinking about building a factory within Russia to make more of those drones. Jamil Jaffer, thank you so much for coming on, as always. We appreciate your insight, sir.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you, Marcel.